we're fruitful. However, we're fruitful, period. It's just about what seeds are you planting. The mind is so fertile. It'll give you whatever you want. Whatever you do consistently, whatever you think about, whatever you put your energy towards, it will yield and bring forth fruit. The problem is that fruit killing you or giving you life? I said we're going to have a podcast, so we're going to have a podcast. I don't care if it's in the bathroom. That's how we're rolling. I said what I said and I meant what I said. It doesn't matter where it happened or how it has to happen. It's happening. All right. Today's podcast is going to be about legacy. And I believe this is going to be a multi-part series. I'm not saying when the other parts are going to be coming out, but this is such a wide range of a topic. My grandmother passed recently, and it's very surreal, but it's allowed me to reflect on that word legacy. It's allowed me to reflect on generational habits. It's allowed me to reflect on how what we do in this life ripples, probably into eternity. That's actually one of the things I say. I'm like, what we do now probably ripples into eternity because vibration never dies. It just, the wave changes. So something that struck me during all this is that my grandmother was very imperfect, as we all are in many ways. But what I see her having built with what she had was nothing short of amazing. Like, truly. There's a lot of things that she didn't have in her life that she gave us and created a standard that was not the standard that she experienced. And that is so powerful. Like, there wasn't a closeness necessarily between her and all of her siblings. She created that as a standard for us. Not only are, my mom, her girls, and her two sisters very close, but they also have kids, us, and we're very close. And we have each other's backs. Like, I know that there are times when people in their family, they have basically tumultuous times around people passing. People are coming in out the woodwork and asking for things, and none of that happened. None of that happened. Every single person that came and stopped by was supportive. Every single person, my mom and her sisters and the cousins, which is, the grandkids, were supportive. It never even crossed our minds to beef. Like, that's a standard. Because I remember when my great-grandmother passed, that wasn't necessarily the issue or the case. Very much the issue. And so as I reflect on that, I'm just simply blown away. It lets me know that we don't have to be perfect to make an impact. We just have to be consistent. We just have to do the right thing way more times than we do wrong things. That's it. Like, that is the pursuit. It's the pursuit of perfection, in a way understanding that we'll never be that, but just continuing to try regardless. Like, that is the hero's journey. And so I'm just so appreciative, as I keep saying, to come through her particular branch of the family tree, because there's no way anybody could have picked this. There's no way anybody would have been like a single mother that had her first child at 16, 17, that, had another 2 kids, again, single mother, growing up in East St. Louis, that they would ever create what she created in terms of a family legacy. And I've just been in awe at the way my mother and the sisters are handling this. They're dealing with their mother's affairs with so much honor and dignity. Of course, all the grandkids are as well. Like, she was just well loved. And there's no other way to say it. It's so very obvious. And there was a little bit of contention when it came down to people who weren't really around. People feel probably a mixture of guilt and wanting to say their last goodbyes when they weren't exactly very present when the person was alive. Something that I can see how it can be a habit. And then when it's kind of too late in the physical sense for a person to make the arrangements that they have to not say that they missed the last thing. But I don't really care so much about those people. I really do believe that the people that are in your life are supposed to be in your life, and they're supposed to be the ones taking up your time and energy. Like, they're the ones who you're supposed to be exchanging that love with, that quality time. Like, at the end of the day, am I mad that distant friends or distant relatives or even close relatives didn't reach out? It's hurtful to think about because it's like, man, she was dope. Y'all missed out. But that's the thing. They missed out. And the time that they would have gotten, we probably got. So the people who matter are going to be around. The people who care are going to find a way to be around. That's just a fact. Sometimes the people who don't won't, but I'm not convinced on the inconsistency, like being able to be accepted or seen like as love, because at the end of the day, that is a big part of our relationships, is the consistency and understanding that that's what relationships are built on. It's like some level of consistency, because within that builds trust. And I'm sure that the people who say that couldn't apply that to every relationship, that the piece of not being around, being like, I love you, but I'm just not around. It's like, okay, well, does that work with your wife? Does it work with your closest friends? Does it work with any of that? It doesn't. That's not a model that really works. I think it's just a matter of priority. And we just have to be real about who we are a priority to and who we are not. And it's not that we have to take it personally, but it is something that we can be honest about, because the actions speak for themselves. It doesn't mean that there's any love lost, but again, if you can apply that theory across all your relationships in your life, then there may be a thing in saying that it might not be true. If you can't apply that I'm not around, but I still care about you and that should be enough, then there's probably something else there. So I wasn't upset, I feel sorry for the people who weren't able to get that amount of time, because she was a super dope person, but I'm glad that I was, so I could get that time. And at the end of the day, I believe that legacy is just about consistency itself. Again, what are you doing consistently? Because that is your legacy. Because what you do consistently becomes a part of who you are. It becomes a part of what people see you doing most of the time. And so regardless of who you say you are largely your habits. You are what you do consistently, because that's what you care about, because that's what you're spending the most time doing. That's what you're putting your energy towards. And then that, therefore, is your legacy. And so as we continue to break that word down, it allows us to take a deeper look at some of our own habits. What is our legacy at this point of our life? Like if things stop right now, if we took a snapshot of this time right now and wrote out all the things that you were doing consistently, what would your legacy be? Would it be work? Would it be Netflix? Would it be smoking? Would it be going out, partying? Like, what is your legacy? What do people know you for, and what do you do most often? And sometimes it's like, maybe sometimes people can build a bit of a facade, like I'm known for this, but a part of your legacy will always be what you do consistently, because again, probability, that's what the most people will see you doing. And even if most people don't see you, it's still your legacy because that's what you were doing. It's a fact. So what is factually your legacy? Sometimes we get good at creating a facade, but what is factually your legacy? And that's something to think about. Everyone spoke about my grandmother with high regard. She never met a stranger, like for real. And she'd be the type of person where you go and take her to a random city and she's going to the corner store to get something, or a store nearby, and then made friends with the owners and oh yeah, that's my guy down at oh, we're cool, yeah, he's so nice. His family tell you a whole family story about them, and what a superpower. And when we can see what a person's legacy is, and when we have the consistency of someone showing us what it took to build that and what superpowers of their own they used to create that, we can take bits and pieces of that and embody it. I am not necessarily a super like saying I do need to go within sometimes, and even I can be in a crowded space and just lock in with some headphones and go within. She wasn't really that person. Like if you're sitting next to her on a plane, she's going to speak to you. And I did that. I just got back from Mexico and I was sitting next to a younger guy, and just being me, I probably wouldn't have necessarily spoken. Like, we're all sitting next to random people on planes. But it's like, why? It doesn't have to be like that. You never know. And so I literally was like, she wouldn't just sit here, she would speak. And so I spoke. And it was, maybe not as long or whatever, but it was a pleasant exchange. And when we do that, we break barriers between us. Like, we all kind of have these walls up, and we're either adverse or just in our own world so much that we don't connect with people. And that, I think, in itself was her superpower broken down. Like, she was able to remove barriers that we put between ourselves. Like, she had none, to an extent, in terms of just knowing herself and allowing people to just be like, hey, how's it going? And receiving that energy. Like, she didn't have any barriers. And she made it okay for the other person not to as well. She made it okay to speak and say hi to a stranger and feel close to a stranger. She created that energy. And the pastor that spoke her service said she was a thermostat, not a thermometer. And I was like, where is she going with this? And he said, a thermometer just reads the temperature in the room and it just reflects what is. A thermostat sets it. It comes in and it sets the temperature. And she very much did. And I very much love that and have been doing my best to embody that. And that's the best part. Like, the more you're around somebody, again, the more you can really embody the mannerisms that you admired about that person. And as I stepped into 30, not long ago. I'm like, yeah, that's something I'm taking with me. That is something that I want to buy. That's a legacy that I would like to leave. I have my own flavor, but I think it's so beautiful that we can walk around. I think it's so beautiful that we can walk around and experience people, love on people, have these beautiful relationships, and then use that experience to embody traits of people that we admire. And so we end up being like this beautiful patchwork quilt of hopefully all the beautiful things about what am I trying to say? We end up being this patchwork quilt of all the beautiful people and the traits that we admire about them. And that's amazing. That's amazing. And that is absolute best case scenario. Because a lot of the time we walk around the opposite. A lot of the time we walk around as a patchwork quilt of all the negative things, of all the hurt, the scars, the pain. And not to say that those patches aren't present too. But it shouldn't be you're just a quilt of hurt. I want to embody the beautiful things. I don't want to just become all the bad things that hurt me, all the things that people said about me that weren't uplifting. Now I want to build myself from all the beautiful things, what I love about people, the beautiful things that they said to me. I've been so in reflection about being in a mindset of abundance. I had noticed myself kind of getting in a scarcity mindset. And I'm grateful that I've noticed it, because a lot of times I understand that we can be walking in things without any level of awareness that we are. But I have been walking with the understanding like, something's off. Like my heart, something's off. And grief is a process. I know a lot of my things can turn to anger if I'm not mindful. But what I noticed is I've been able to address those things. I've been able to use my reflection on the beautiful things, and like people reaching out to me even with condolences, and the fact that even with happy birthdays, like the fact that somebody took time out of their life, like thought about me. Like I'm not in their like I'm not in their body. I'm in their life, but I'm not, like I took up some brain space for a moment. Like a person without me having to be around or seeing me per se. I'm sure some people saw it and it was like, oh yeah. But for the people who was like, man, it's Kendra's birthday. Okay, I'm gonna message her. Happy birthday, much love, wishing you. Like somebody took time out to do that, like to think about me, to call me, to celebrate with me. Like even one person outside of yourself doing that is freaking amazing. Like they literally took life force in lifetime out of their own to give you some with love. Like, wow. And I literally wrote a post today, like I remember being younger and kind of like, how many people wrote on my page? Only this many people. I even had a brief thought about that, like, man, I know I'm not active, only a couple of people. And it's like, it was me noticing, but before I would notice and it would affect me. Now I'm noticing and it was just like, okay, well, something I noticed. But even in that, like I probably had more gratitude with the how many people, 20-some people that posted on my page or said something to me now than I may have when it was 100 people. You know, like I feel like I have or know that I have because the meaning is deeper now. When you're not in a space of gratitude, you're like a bottomless pit. Nothing really is enough. You're not even taking on the full weight of one, yet alone, like, so you can't, 100, 200, whatever, doesn't mean a whole lot. But today and yesterday, responding to those messages, and even the people on my mom's page that took time out, other people would experience loss. Like, think about it. People are experiencing hardship in their life. People are having sometimes a mentally hard time. It was one woman who I know, like, lost her daughter who was around my age, and she still took the time to tell someone else's daughter happy birthday. Like, that can make me cry right now, because man, we spend so much time thinking about what we don't have. Man, we spend so much time thinking about who didn't show up. I don't care. I know that I'll notice. I know that some things might hurt, but I'm grateful to have developed a lens that I can look through to keep my heart full. And even not walking away like hating people. Like, I don't even really fall out with people anymore. Like, that energy that I used to, even in high school, like, we're not speaking, and we're not, and I don't say their person's name, and I'm not, I don't even, like, man, that's a lot of energy, love. That's a lot of energy in the wrong direction. That's a lot. Like, when you can use that same energy to build, I just want to build. If things are off, let's part in peace, you know? Like, for real. Had to do it before, and I know it won't be the last time, but I have to do it. And I like this trajectory. It's not hate. It's not. Because why would it be? It doesn't have to be. And so I don't want it to be. And I'm grateful for this mind, for this spirit, for the opportunity to be led down this path to where I can think in this way and feel in this way. Our experiences are so heavily shaped by that, how we view things, the perspective that we have, how we pretty much view the small things, because that's a relation or building block to those bigger things. If I can't have gratitude for somebody taking the time out of their life to tell me happy birthday, like, what can I really have gratitude for and, like, really feel it? And it lasts longer than a little high of a situation. You can't. I don't really feel like you can. And so even that in itself is a legacy. You pass down your thought patterns. You pass down the way that you think, because it's an energy. If you are an optimistic person, people feel that. If you are a pessimistic person, people definitely feel that. And when they're around you enough, when a person is around you a lot, you know how people start to pick up your mannerisms and do, like, make sure they're leaving. That's a legacy. That in itself is a legacy. Because they're picking up something, since our brains work in patterns, they're picking up something that you're doing over and over. Let them leave with something that they can use. Let them leave with some good fruit, not bad fruit. Let them leave with something that they can really use. Like, I really take pride in the way that I think. I know that I can be a negative thinker. I know that I can sometimes be hyper focused on problems because I just want it to be better. Like, no, we need to fix this. Like, and it can be like too much force, because I just so much want, like, no, we need to address this because this needs to be changed and this. But there is like an art to that. Like, I don't have to force it. But I'm just so intrigued with the concept now, and it makes me aware of my every move, even on the daily. Like, what is my legacy? These habits that I don't even notice that I'm doing. That's legacy. What is that? What does that look like? What's your morning legacy? What's your work legacy? What's your home legacy? What's your legacy that you have with your mother? What's the legacy that you have with your siblings? What's the legacy that you have with your children, your nieces, your nephews? What's that legacy? What do you do consistently with them? What do they see you doing consistently? What are you saying to people? What's your legacy? And this is going to probably be its own separate podcast, but in the same vein, I've been thinking about, and had already changed the term. I know we throw around the phrase generational curses a lot. But I'm like, that's too heavy. It's too heavy in the sense that it makes it seem like it's something that we need a special spell from a fairy godmother to break, or all this energy to break. It makes it heavy, literally. So I've been calling them, for the past couple months or so, generational habits. That's what they really are. It's no different than you getting up and brushing your teeth every morning. That's a habit. What they are is just a pattern. This is what people saw. This is the legacy that a person inherited as a habit from their ancestors or from the people that came before them. And so when thinking about it that way, it makes it a little lighter. It breaks it up in pieces, because to break a generational habit, I just have to start a new one. I just have to recognize what's happening, and I just have to, every time I'm presented with with a certain situation, or I'm in a certain situation, to act in a certain way that this particular outcome is continuing that generational habit. I just have to pivot every time, like, oh, this is happening again. Okay, now I'm aware, so I know not to continue this. And every time that you do it, that generational habit is being dismantled every single time. The fabric of that particular patch in the patchwork quilt is being unraveled and removed and replaced eventually with something else. I think that's so beautiful. The awareness is the number one thing, and we don't give that enough credit. I mean, pat yourself on the back for being aware, because if you're not aware, then you can't do anything about it. But the action after the awareness is the privilege. Oh man, it's like, man, I feel so grateful to have the opportunity to replace that with something more beautiful. Like, thank you for giving me the awareness to see that this is something that is not serving us generationally. And thank you for the opportunity to, at every chance, be the person. Oh man, come on. I get to be the person to change it. Yeah. I get to be the person to change it. Thank you for the awareness so that I can be the person to change it, to shift that, to replace that. I get to be that person. Man, that's not heavy, that's powerful. It's not burdensome, that's power. That's a privilege. That's a privilege. Because you could have never noticed it. You could have just continued the rest of your life thinking that that was normal and reaping all the negative repercussions of it. The awareness may be uncomfortable, and every time you have to pivot, that may be uncomfortable, because the generational habit is not just about that thing. It's about having the willpower to not act on the pattern, which is often rooted in the emotion. Like, what happens is that people feel a certain way, and that feeling makes them want to take a certain way, an easier way, or a way that they know, because it's the path of least resistance. And it's understandable. It's not that it's not understandable. It just doesn't matter if it's understandable or not, because it's going to yield negative results. And to have the awareness, to be given the mind and the spirit to recognize it, to be given the opportunity and the privilege to change it. Man, I respect it. Again, I respect my grandmother so much. And that's something I told her to her face. Man, look what you created. Look at what you created at family events, or just calling her, man, I'm just thinking about, like, wow, you're brilliant. You created 3 brilliant, caring, compassionate, powerful daughters. Like, all 3, like 3 for 3, who all had dope ass, powerful children. No exceptions. And we're all close. And we all, for the most part, get along. We all are increasingly being able to sit down with each other and hash out problems and come out stronger on the other side. Job well done. Job well done. Oof. That's powerful. So as much, yes, she may have had her issues here and there, like, yo, what a legacy. What a freaking legacy. It makes you, get hype. Hype for her. Like, yo, you showed out. And at the same time, let's give people their just due. This is something set in place. Don't think that there's ever an age that is too early or too late. Because again, my grandmother was a teenage mom. A single teenage mom. All this was set forth by the intentions and the willpower of a child. I can't get over that. I can't get over that. Never underestimate the seeds that you are planting. Never underestimate the seeds that you are planting. There was something in her that at 16, 17 years old, she understood what she wanted and what she did not want. She understood what she wanted to continue. That came from her family, and what she did not want to continue. I deeply respect her for that. Because I'm the fruit of that. So I get why she was at every event. Yo, you're eating your own fruit. At every graduation, at every accolade that your child or your grandchild, like, she was there. Why? She's eating her own fruit. She's being fed by the stuff that she planted. That's powerful. I have to do this on stage somewhere, because I want to get loud, but I don't. It's kind of late, and I'm loud in here, because I'm like, yo, this. It's like there's a light that's on the surface, and that's all the drama, the politics, the this, the that. But yo, when you get deep into the roots of life, what's this? It's this. What legacy are you making? What generational habits are you creating or breaking or continuing? What are you planting? And what fruit will it yield? because it all will yield fruit. Because your energy is the attention, your focus and your consistency is the water. What seeds are you watering? Because we're fruitful. However, we're fruitful, period. It's just about what seeds are you planting. The mind is so fertile. It'll give you whatever you want. Whatever you do consistently, whatever you think about, whatever you put your energy towards, it will yield and bring forth fruit. The problem is that fruit killing you or giving you life? She traveled so much at the end. Why? I was at different things, internships and Cornell and family trips, and that's her fruit. She's eating off her fruit. She ate off her fruit. At the end of her life, she was well fed by her fruit that she planted. It doesn't get deeper than that. Like, you gotta feel that. You gotta feel that. I'm gonna leave on that note. Much love. See y'all next time. Probably be a bit more of a normal setup, but I don't care. It's consistency. I don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to be. So we're here. Next time you try to make an excuse, remember I did a podcast in the bathroom of my hotel because I said I was going to do it. So a podcast needs to be out. And I have great lighting in here. It's a no-brainer. Love y'all. Talk soon.